You're sitting in your driveway at 11 p.m., staring at your phone screen. The notification just came through. Your checking account is $87 short. Again. Your truck payment hit this morning. $1,143. Same as last month, same as the month before that, same as it'll be for the next 73 months. You look through the windshield at that beautiful F-150 Lariat sitting in front of you. Magnetic gray metallic, premium leather, the 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine. You remember how powerful you felt driving it off the lot 11 months ago. How your neighbor Gary actually stopped what he was doing to come check it out. How your dad nodded with approval and said, "Now that's a real truck." But right now, sitting here doing mental math about which bills you can push to next week, you're wondering if Gary or your dad would be impressed if they knew you've started eating lunch at your desk instead of going out with coworkers, that you canceled your gym membership, that you told your wife you're not really feeling a vacation this year, when really you just can't afford one. My name is Clint, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart, hard-working people voluntarily trap themselves in financial situations that slowly suffocate their futures. If you're someone who's making a vehicle payment that eats up more of your monthly income than you'd ever admit to your friends, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. That truck payment isn't just a bill, it's a trap. And the door's locked the moment you sign that 84-month financing agreement. The truly terrifying part? Most people don't even realize they're trapped until years into the payments, when they finally do the math and discover they're in a hole so deep that climbing out would require making sacrifices they're not willing to make. Let's talk about how you got here, because understanding the trap is the first step to even considering whether escape is possible.
The setup. How dealerships make the impossible seem reasonable. Walk into any truck dealership on a Saturday afternoon and watch what happens. You'll see families climbing into $75,000 trucks. You'll see 28-year-olds sitting in finance offices nodding along to payment structures they don't fully understand. You'll see people trading in vehicles they're upside down on, rolling negative equity into new loans like it's a normal thing everybody does. The average new truck payment in America right now is $788 per month. But here's what that number hides. The average includes people making small down payments, people with excellent credit getting promotional rates, and people financing over shorter terms. For the typical buyer walking into a dealership with average credit, looking at the trucks they actually want, the real payment is much higher. A 2024 Ford F-150 Lariat with the packages most people want, the technology package, the towing package, maybe the sport appearance package, because, let's be honest, you want it to look good, you're at $68,000 before you leave the lot. Add in taxes, dealer fees, an extended warranty they convinced you to buy, and gap insurance, and you're financing $72,500. Your credit score is 690, not terrible, but not great. The rate they offer you is 7.8%. They suggest an 84-month term to keep the payment comfortable. Your monthly payment comes out to $1,089. The finance manager slides the paper across the desk and says, "Does that work for your budget?" And here's where the trap actually springs. You make $65,000 a year. Your take-home is about $4,100 a month after taxes, 401k, and insurance. That $1,089 payment is 26.5% of your take-home income. Every financial advisor would tell you this is insane. The old rule was 10–15% of gross income max. Even the loosened modern guidelines say 20% of take-home should be the absolute ceiling. You're already over that before adding insurance, gas, or maintenance. But the finance manager isn't asking if it fits financial best practices. He's asking if it works for your budget. And in that moment, you're doing different math. You're thinking, well, rent is $1,400, that's locked in. Student loans are $380, but I could probably cut back on eating out, maybe cancel a couple subscriptions. Yeah, I can make this work. You sign. You drive home in your new truck. The trap has closed. Look, here's what nobody tells you about the first year of truck ownership. You're going to convince yourself everything is fine for about 90 days. The truck is new, it's exciting, it represents a win in your life. You overlook the tight budget. You tell yourself it's temporary until you get that raise or bonus. Then month 4 hits. Your insurance bill comes in at $267 a month because you're insuring a $72,500 asset. You knew insurance would be more, but somehow $267 on paper hits different than $267 as a concept. Your first oil change costs $120 because it's a 5.0-liter engine that takes 8 quarts of synthetic, and the dealership charges premium rates. Your truck gets 18 miles per gallon in real-world mixed driving, not the 22 they advertised. At $3.60 per gallon and 1,200 miles per month, you're spending $240 on gas. Let's add this up. Truck payment, $1,089. Insurance, $267. Gas, $240. Maintenance, amortized, $75. Your total monthly truck cost is $1,671. That's 40.7% of your take-home income, just for transportation. You're sitting at your kitchen table sometime around month 6, looking at your checking account balance, and you're starting to realize something. You haven't saved $1 since you bought the truck, not $1. Your emergency fund, the $2,800 you spent 2 years building, is down to $400 because your water heater died and you had to replace it on a credit card, then pull from savings to pay off the card. Your wife mentions that her sister is getting married in Colorado next summer. Destination wedding. You do some quick math. Flights, hotel, rental car, wedding gift, probably $2,500 total. You feel your chest tighten. You know you can't afford it, but you also know you can't really explain why you can't afford it without admitting that the truck payment has put you in a financial stranglehold. So you say something vague like, "Let's see how things look closer to the date," and you see the look on her face. She knows what that means.
Here's what's actually happening with your truck financially. This is the part that should have been explained to you before you signed anything, but wasn't, because if they explained this, nobody would ever sign. You financed $72,500 at 7.8% for 84 months. Your monthly payment is $1,089. Over the life of that loan, you will pay $91,476 total. That's $18,976 in pure interest, money you're handing to a bank for the privilege of borrowing money to buy something that's losing value every single day. But it gets so much worse when you factor in depreciation. New trucks lose about 20% of their value the moment you drive off the lot. Your $72,500 truck is worth roughly $58,000 after day 1. By the end of year 1, it'll be worth about $54,000. By year 3, it'll be worth maybe $42,000. Now let's look at your loan balance. After 12 months of payments, you owe $67,850. After 24 months, you owe $63,000. After 36 months, you owe $57,900. Notice the problem? At month 36, your truck is worth $42,000, but you still owe $57,900. You're $15,900 underwater. That's not a small gap, that's a financial prison. If you wanted to sell the truck or trade it in, you'd have to come up with $15,900 in cash just to get out of the loan. Do you have $15,900 sitting around? No, because you've been spending every spare dollar just keeping up with the truck payment. This is why dealerships love rolling negative equity into new loans. They know you're trapped. They know that in 3 years, when you're tired of the truck or want something different, you won't have the cash to escape. So they'll roll that $15,900 into your next loan. Congratulations, you're now paying for 2 trucks while only driving 1. Now you might be thinking, but Clint, trucks hold their value better than cars. This is actually a smart investment compared to buying a sedan. Here's where I need to break something to you as gently as possible. No vehicle is an investment. An investment is something that increases in value or generates income. Your truck does neither. It's a depreciating asset. The fact that it depreciates slower than a Camry doesn't make it an investment. It just means you're losing money at a slightly slower rate. Let's compare the actual numbers. That $72,500 truck will be worth roughly $28,000 after 7 years when you make your final payment. You will have paid $91,476 for the privilege of owning a truck worth $28,000. You lost $63,476. Now let's compare this to buying a 3-year-old Toyota Tacoma for $32,000. Your payment at 6.5% for 48 months would be $759. After 4 years, the Tacoma would be worth about $20,000. You paid $36,432 total and lost $16,432 in depreciation. You also had 7 years of lower insurance, better fuel economy, and less financial stress. The difference in total loss between these two scenarios is $47,044. That's not a rounding error. That's a down payment on a house. That's a year of college tuition. That's the emergency fund you don't have.
Now, here's where this gets really interesting from a psychological standpoint. Because mathematically, the smart move is obvious. Sell the truck, take the loss, buy something affordable, and stop the bleeding. But you won't do that, and I can tell you exactly why. First, there's the sunk cost fallacy. You've already put $13,068 into this truck over the last 12 months. Your brain interprets selling it now as wasting that money. So you convince yourself that you just need to keep paying, and eventually you'll get past the worst of the depreciation curve. This is, of course, exactly backwards. Every month you keep the truck, you're losing more money. But our brains aren't wired to think about it that way. Second, there's identity attachment. You bought this truck because it represented something to you: success, capability, masculinity. Whatever the specific psychology was, that truck became part of how you see yourself. Selling it feels like admitting failure, like admitting you weren't the person you thought you were. Your ego literally won't let you make the smart financial decision. Third, there's social pressure. Your neighbor Gary saw you drive home in this truck. Your coworkers park next to it every day. Your dad approved of it. Downgrading to a used sedan feels like broadcasting to everyone in your life that you made a mistake, that you couldn't afford what you thought you could afford. The social embarrassment of that feels worse than the financial pain of keeping the payment. And fourth, this is the one that really keeps people trapped: their status quo bias combined with loss aversion. Right now, you're in pain, but it's familiar pain. You know how to live on a tight budget. You've figured out which expenses to cut. The idea of selling the truck and taking a $15,900 loss feels like making things worse, even though mathematically it would make things better. Our brains are wired to prefer familiar suffering over uncertain improvement. This is why the truck payment trap is so effective. It's not just financial, it's psychological. The dealership didn't just sell you a truck, they sold you a self-image and a social identity. And that's much harder to give up than a monthly payment.
Let's talk about what this truck is actually costing you, beyond the obvious monthly payment, because the payment is just the visible part of the iceberg. You can't buy a house. With that $1,089 truck payment on your credit report, your debt-to-income ratio is blown. Mortgage lenders look at that number and immediately reduce how much house they'll approve you for. That $1,089 payment is keeping you in an apartment when you could be building equity in a home. You can't take career risks. Your coworker starts a side business. Your friend quits their corporate job to pursue something they're passionate about. You can't do that. You need steady, reliable income to make that truck payment. The truck has made you risk-averse in your career, which is costing you opportunities for growth and higher earnings. You're accumulating credit card debt to supplement your lifestyle. Because the truck payment ate your margin, unexpected expenses go on plastic. The AC unit in your apartment breaks, $800 on the credit card. Christmas comes around, $600 on the card. Your sister's baby shower, $150 on the card. Within a year, you're carrying a $4,000 balance at 22% APR. That's $73 a month in interest alone. You're paying the bank for the privilege of having bought things in the past. Your relationship is strained. If you're married or have a partner, that truck payment is creating constant tension. Every financial conversation is overshadowed by it. Your partner wants to save for a future goal. Can't. Truck payment. Your partner wants to take a vacation. Can. Truck payment. Your partner suggests maybe getting rid of the truck, and you get defensive because you've tied your self-worth to it. You've stopped investing for retirement. That $1,089 a month could be going into your 401k or an IRA. If you invested that amount from age 30 to 60 at 8% returns, it would grow to $1.46 million. Instead, you'll have a 30-year-old truck worth $3,000 and no retirement savings. You're trading your future retirement security for present-day status. Here's something most people never calculate: the opportunity cost of that truck payment measured in time. You make $65,000 a year. After taxes, that's roughly $31.25 per hour. Your truck payment is $1,089, which means you work 35 hours every month just to pay for your truck. That's almost a full week of work, every month, for 7 years. You're giving Ford Motor Company 1 week of your labor every single month. Think about that. Think about what you could do with an extra week of freedom every month.
Now, you might think that after the first year of adjustment, things get easier. You get used to the tighter budget, you've made the lifestyle changes. It should be smooth sailing from here, right? Wrong. This is when the trap actually gets worse. Year 2 is when maintenance costs start climbing. Your brake pads need replacing, $600. Your tires are getting worn. You need a new set within the next 6 months, and that'll be $1,400. These aren't emergencies, but they're not optional either. And because you have no emergency fund, each one of these hits forces you to either put it on a credit card or delay it and hope nothing goes catastrophically wrong. Year 3 is when the psychological weight really starts bearing down. You've been making this payment for 36 months. You've paid $39,204 toward this truck. It's now worth $42,000, and you still owe $57,900. You're barely making progress. It feels like you're running on a treadmill that never stops. This is also when major life events tend to happen. Maybe you want to have kids, but you realize you can't afford childcare with this truck payment. Maybe you get a job offer in another city with a higher salary, but you can't afford the moving costs. Maybe your aging parent needs help, but you don't have the financial margin to provide it. The truck payment that seemed manageable when you were single and 28 becomes an anchor when life gets more complicated at 31. And here's the cruelest part of the trap. By year 4, you're so deep into it that you start justifying keeping it. Well, I've already paid this much, I might as well see it through. I only have 3 more years of payments. The truck still runs great. I'll drive it for years after it's paid off. These are all lies you tell yourself to avoid admitting that you made a mistake 4 years ago, and you're continuing to make that same mistake every single month by not getting out.
Let me show you something. Let's run a side-by-side comparison of 2 different decisions you could have made. Option A, the truck you bought. Purchase price, $72,500. Monthly payment, $1,089. Insurance, $267 a month. Fuel at 18 mpg, $240 a month. Maintenance, $100 a month averaged. Total monthly cost, $1,696. Total paid over 7 years, $142,464. Value after 7 years, $28,000. Net loss, $114,464. Option B, a 4-year-old Toyota Tacoma. Purchase price, $32,000. Monthly payment, 48 months, $759. Insurance, $180 a month. Fuel at 22 mpg, $196 a month. Maintenance, $75 a month. Total monthly cost, $1,210. Total paid over 4 years, $58,080. Value after 4 years, $20,000. Net loss first 4 years, $38,080. After those first 4 years, you own the Tacoma free and clear. Your monthly cost drops to just insurance, fuel, and maintenance, about $451 per month. Meanwhile, option A is still making $1,089 payments. Over 7 total years, option A cost $142,464. Option B cost $74,196, $58,080 for first 4 years, plus $16,116 for last 3 years. The difference is $68,268. That's how much your ego and your need to feel successful cost you. But wait, it gets even worse when you account for what you could have done with that difference. If you'd invested the $486 monthly difference, $1,696 minus $1,210, in a boring S&P 500 index fund for those 7 years at a conservative 8% return, you'd have $54,377 in the bank. So the real comparison is option A, you own a truck worth $28,000 and have $0 saved. Option B, you own a truck worth $20,000 and have $54,377 saved. Even accounting for the value difference in trucks, option B leaves you $46,377 ahead. That's a year of salary. That's financial freedom you gave up for slightly newer leather seats and a badge that says Lariat instead of SR5.
Now, you might be reading this and thinking, okay, Clint, I get it, I screwed up, but I'm 18 months into this loan. What am I supposed to do now? I can't just make the truck disappear. You're right, you can't make it disappear, but you're wrong about being trapped. You have options. They're not pleasant options. They require admitting you made a mistake and taking short-term pain to fix a long-term problem, but they exist. Option 1. Sell it and take the loss. Right now, you owe $67,850. Your truck is worth $54,000 in a private sale. That means you need to come up with $13,850 to sell it. I know you don't have $13,850 sitting around, but here's the thing. You're going to lose way more than $13,850 by keeping the truck. You're just spreading that loss out over 6 more years so it feels less painful. Can you borrow $13,850 from family? Can you take a personal loan for that amount? Can you pull it from your 401k with penalties? All of these options suck, but they suck less than 6 more payments. If you sell it, buy a $12,000 used Honda Accord, and your total transportation cost drops to $600 a month, insurance plus gas plus maintenance. That's $1,096 per month you just freed up. Even if you're paying $300 a month on a personal loan to cover the gap, you're still $796 ahead every month. Option 2. Refinance or restructure. Some lenders will refinance your truck loan to a longer term, which drops the monthly payment. This is mathematically stupid. You'll pay even more interest and be underwater even longer. But if you're drowning and need air, sometimes a stupid life raft is better than drowning. I don't love this option because it extends the trap, but it's better than defaulting. Option 3. The nuclear option. Voluntary surrender. If you literally cannot make the payments and you cannot sell it, you can voluntarily surrender the truck to the lender. This destroys your credit. The bank will auction the truck, apply the proceeds to your loan, and you'll still owe the difference. But it ends the monthly hemorrhaging. I'm not recommending this. This is the absolute last resort, but it is an option when there are no other options. Option 4. Radical lifestyle changes to accelerate payoff.
What if, instead of just barely making the payment, you went scorched earth on your budget and attacked this loan like it was on fire? Get a second job delivering food on weekends, sell stuff you don't need, cut every possible expense, and throw every extra dollar at the principal. If you could find an extra $500 a month to put toward principal, you'd pay the truck off in 51 months instead of 84. You'd save $9,600 in interest and get out of the trap 3 years early. This requires being willing to live like a broke college student for 4 years while driving a truck that looks like you're successful. It's uncomfortable, but it's how you escape.
Here's what really bothers me about the truck payment trap. It's not an accident. It's not just people making bad decisions. It's a carefully engineered system designed to extract maximum profit from working people by exploiting their psychology. Auto manufacturers and dealerships have spent billions of dollars studying human behavior. They know exactly which emotional buttons to push. They know that men tie their identity to their vehicles. They know that status anxiety is real and powerful. They know that if they can shift the conversation away from total cost and toward monthly payments, they can sell you way more truck than you can afford. The 84-month loan wasn't invented because consumers demanded it. It was invented because it lets dealers sell more expensive trucks to people who can't afford them. The practice of rolling negative equity into new loans wasn't created to help you. It was created to keep you in debt forever. And the marketing. God, the marketing is brilliant and evil at the same time. They don't show you commercials of a guy sitting at his kitchen table stressed about money. They show you trucks conquering mountains, towing boats, covered in mud with a voiceover about hard work and American values. They're not selling you transportation. They're selling you masculinity, capability, and belonging. Every truck commercial is the same emotional pitch. You're a hard worker. You deserve something nice. Real men drive trucks. You're a real man, aren't you? It's manipulation, and it works because it's based on fundamental human needs, belonging, respect, identity. The truck becomes the symbol of your worthiness as a person. And once they've made that psychological connection, the math doesn't matter anymore. If you're reading this and you haven't bought the truck yet, if you're still in the thinking about it phase, please, for the love of all that is financially holy, do this instead. Buy used. A 3 to 4-year-old truck has absorbed the brutal early depreciation, but it's still got 10+ years of life left. You get 90% of the truck for 60% of the price. Buy less than you can afford. Just because the bank will lend you $70,000 doesn't mean you should borrow it. Buy the truck you can afford, not the truck you want. Make a real down payment, at least 20%. This protects you from being underwater and reduces your monthly payment burden. Choose the shortest term possible, 48 months max. Yes, the payment is higher. That's the point. If you can't afford a 4-year payment, you can't afford the truck. Calculate total cost of ownership. Don't just look at the payment. Add insurance, fuel, maintenance, and depreciation. That's the real cost. And most importantly, disconnect your self-worth from your vehicle. Your truck doesn't make you more of a man. It doesn't make you more successful. It doesn't make you more capable. It's just metal, plastic, and electronics that moves you from one place to another. The guy driving a paid-off 2015 Tacoma with $50,000 in his retirement account is way more successful than the guy driving a brand-new Platinum F-150 while carrying credit card debt and no emergency fund. He just doesn't look more successful. And that's the whole game right there. Looking successful versus being successful. The truck makes you look successful. Financial discipline makes you actually successful. Look, I'm gonna level with you. If you're already in the trap, if you're 18 or 24 months into that 84-month loan, escape is going to hurt. There's no magic solution, no painless way out. You're either going to take a sharp, immediate financial hit by selling the truck and covering the gap, or you're going to take a slow, grinding financial hit by continuing to make payments while your life goals remain on hold. The question isn't whether it's gonna hurt. It's going to hurt either way. The question is, do you want short-term pain
or long-term suffering. Short-term pain looks like swallowing your pride, admitting you made a mistake, selling the truck at a loss, borrowing money to cover the gap, and driving something humble while you rebuild your finances. It sucks for 6 to 12 months. Long-term suffering looks like making that payment every month for 6 more years, watching your friends buy houses while you're stuck in an apartment, turning down opportunities because you need stable income, and finally making that last payment on month 84, only to discover you now own a 7-year-old truck worth $28,000 and you have nothing saved for the future. Which pain do you choose?
Here's what life looks like when you're not trapped by a truck payment. You wake up on the first of the month, and the only vehicle-related expense is $180 in insurance and whatever gas you use. Your monthly transportation cost is $350 instead of $1,696. That extra $1,346 per month, you're investing $800 of it in index funds. You're putting $300 in your emergency fund until it hits 6 months of expenses, and you're spending $246 on whatever the hell you want because you've earned it and you can actually afford it. When your friend invites you to that destination wedding in Colorado, you don't have to make excuses. You just book the flight. When your boss pisses you off, you can start exploring other job opportunities because you're not handcuffed to a steady paycheck. When your kid wants to join travel soccer, you can say yes without running calculations in your head about what other expense you'd have to cut. This isn't some fantasy life available only to rich people. This is just what normal financial stability looks like. It's available to you. The only thing standing between you and this life is your ego and your willingness to endure short-term embarrassment.
The truck payment trap is insidious because it preys on our best intentions. You want it to reward yourself for your hard work. You want it to feel capable and successful. You want it something nice. These aren't character flaws. These are normal human desires. The problem is that the automotive industry has figured out how to weaponize these desires against your long-term financial interests. They've built a system that makes it incredibly easy to say yes in the moment and incredibly hard to escape later. But you can escape. It requires honesty about your situation, willingness to make hard choices, and the strength to value actual financial freedom over the appearance of success. That truck in your driveway isn't a symbol of your success. It's a symbol that you confused looking successful with being successful. And the sooner you can make peace with that reality, the sooner you can start building actual wealth instead of burning money. The trap is real. The doors are locked, but you have the keys. You've always had the keys. The question is whether you're willing to use them. If this video helped you see the trap clearly, or better yet, helped you avoid getting caught in the first place, smash that like button and subscribe for more real talk about money that nobody else wants to give you. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you trapped or did you avoid the trap? I read every single one. Take care of your future self. I'll see you in the next video.